Macmillan Audio presents The Exact Nature of Our Wrongs by Janet Peery. Read for you by Juliana Francis Kelly. Spiritus contra Spiritum. Carl Jung, Letter to Bill W. Chapter 1. Even 100 years past the town's founding, a visitor to Amicus might guess it had been laid out by rival drunks. A flatland hamlet between the Chisholm Trail and the Santa Fe tracks, the place had no true center, but was an array of storefront concerns and modest houses ranging over the 6 square miles that lay within its boundaries. A fitting figure for her family, Hattie Campbell sometimes thought, especially on the days when she was torn among conflicting desires, by her husband and 6 children vying for attention or love or favor, or whatever prize it struck their unfathomable fancies to vie for. In this way had grown their helter-skelter prairie town. A stretch of melon field would open onto an outcropping of peeling clapboard bungalows, and these would give way to a stand of cottonwoods. A mile or so away, past the Farmers' and Drovers' Bank, another clutch of houses only a bit tidier would appear, and then a stunted peach orchard, and then a pump jack dowsing crude oil up from bedrock. Yet another mile from these you'd come upon the grain elevator, the hardware store, and the water tower so leak-prone that in a big wind, water would sheet out like a gusher from a derrick. From the roadside billboard depicting the whitest of white hands clasped in hearty greeting, and the words, "Welcome to Amicus," it was a good hour's walk to the bermed-up boxcar that served as the civic tornado shelter. On the western edge of town, the land opened up, and the Great Plains began their slow rise toward the Rockies. Haphazard and down on its heels as the place was, her family had prospered here, and Hattie liked it fine. Her husband, Abel, ran his law practice out of a low-roofed adobe building that had first been the land office, and then a pool hall and a punchboard dive. During Prohibition, the structure, because of its thick walls, had been put into service as the jail. After repeal, it was turned into a Phillips 66. This, too, she thought, was a fitting figure, at least where it concerned her husband, a man in whom the law was ever at odds. When Abel bought the building, he had the gas pumps and the buried storage tanks removed. Out of wrought iron rod, he welded the letters LAWOFFICE, hung them over the arched doorway, and set up shop for what would be a long and satisfying practice. In later years he sat as town judge, a post that called for settling ordinance matters, presiding over civil disputes, and deciding fault in traffic offenses. Hattie was on the library board and served as treasurer for the Amicus Garden Club. She joined the women of Dorcas Circle in charitable works, played the piano for the First Presbyterian Sunday School, and sometimes led a lesson for the youth. The Campbells were known and respected, and she had been proud of this, but in the past few years, with Abel's retirement and the rise of the next generation, she'd begun to fear that their standing was slipping. No one said anything outright, but from time to time she saw a crooked look pass across the face of someone she was meeting for the first time. "I'm Hannah Campbell," she would say, using her softer given name to keep from having to utter the flat-sounding rattle that was the name she went by. But almost before she could add, "But call me Hattie," there'd be that flicker, that shadow. The Campbell name had once meant respectability and a certain stature, but lately she wasn't sure exactly what it had come to mean. Scofflaw, maybe. Wayward. Something not very good. Often she shook her head in despair, or as close to despair as she ever came, which amounted to a sinking sense of bewilderment, at her children and their problems. Public intoxication.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?